Chris, I've had a request from a salesperson and he's been asked by a customer about moving all his applications to a virtualized infrastructure.
Okay. All's an interesting choice of words. There's a lot of things we've got to think about before we start talking to customers about you can virtualize everything. Okay, so there's some significant barriers. The first one, I guess is kind of obvious, is if I've got a workload or a payload that's significant in terms of the number of users or the workload volume, then virtualizing it is going to place certain constraints on it. So you can't necessarily virtualize those payloads as well as things that just aren't supported. Still, lots of ISVs out there don't support their applications running in a virtual environment, and whilst there's no technical reason why they wouldn't work, when it comes to diagnosing some sort of support issue because you've got unrecognised behaviour, etc., customers may find it difficult to get support on those applications. So there is a barrier there around performance and around certification, and the next one really is around licensing. If you think about it, if I've got any application that traditionally I've licensed per CPU, and I put that into a virtual environment, the rules tend to follow that I have to license every piece of silicon that application might touch. So therefore my licensing bill, instead of being licensed for that one box, now has to be licensed for everything across the estate. And that's certainly still true for a lot of big applications. So there are dangers, if you like, in virtualizing everything. And whilst there's no, as I said before, there's no technical reason why you can't do it. Most of these things will work at the end of the day because all they're doing is fooling an application or operating system into believing they're connected to physical tin. If you do have a problem that needs diagnosis and is not supported, that will give you a challenge.
So it's not about whether or not you want to virtualize everything, or you can. It's whether or not you should, and it would give you the benefits or the cost models that you're expecting.
I find it quite interesting. The cost model is driving the technology,
and
in the customers are saying, virtualization gives me all these benefits, therefore I should then layer that over my technology. Whereas in the past it was more about what's the right technology to solving the problem, and then what's the most cost efficient way of doing that. It's kind of gone round the other way a little bit, and so a number of things that impact that. The first one is, even if I could virtualize everything, so I might have a bunch of applications where they are certified, they are supported, I probably don't want to virtualize them because politically it's not a good thing to do. It may be my internal cost model is not set up to do this. It may be that the application is deemed so important by one team within the business that they don't want to share it with anybody else. I'll always have a requirement for physical and virtual, and certification, support, performance and licensing will continue to drive that for the foreseeable future.
So how do we, as Fujitsu, address some of those challenges? Okay,
so we've got to look at what the right application is, which bits are staying physical and virtual. The irony is, a lot of the applications that you don't virtualize tend to be the most important ones. They're the important applications because the business relies on them to deliver this service in a reliable, efficient manner. But if we take our eyes off them and move to the virtualization tier, then actually we tend to forget about providing resilience for these, and even if I do provide resilience, it gets quite expensive. So what I'm really saying is physical and virtual have to coexist, and therefore you have to find ways of managing physical and virtual environments. If the split is 50-60% virtual to physical, which actually if you're doing as an organisation you're doing really well, probably twice the industry average, then we have mechanisms whereby we can virtualise the infrastructure under the virtual infrastructure. So in other words, we have a group of processing resources that we can put physical or virtual instances on and fail over between the two. And as the infrastructures get bigger, then we have other tools that will let you manage physical and virtual in the same environment, plus start to give you some management of the virtual infrastructures within the virtual tier. So talking to the management tools that are running the virtual infrastructures, so it's a product called RCVE we have that actually talks to Virtual Center, and you're managing physical and virtual through the same pane of glass. When we start to look at not necessarily bigger but more application specific infrastructures like SAP and Oracle, then we take a very different approach. And our approach there is to say, let's virtualize the application above the operating system, not above a hypervisor. That means we can run any instance on any server at any time. That means we can do N+1 failover. It means we can do automated scale out when load increases on the whichever tier in the application the load's increasing on. Typically impacts server count, so reducing server count by somewhere between 40 and 60%. Reducing management overhead, reducing licensing bills, etc., etc. So where there's a specific application environment like SAP and Oracle, we have a different set of tools to manage that. Which kind of begs the question: what about things that aren't application for specific, that are more generic in type? So we have a processing area network platform, and kind of does for physical applications what virtual infrastructures do for virtual instances. In other words, it's an abstraction. It can move anywhere within the processing area network, both inside the frame, outside the building. Again, impacting this resilience requirement on physical instances, as well as giving us scale up and scale out possibilities.
So there are a range of options and a range of way of doing things in terms of migrating applications to a virtualized infrastructure. And Fujitsu have some specific solutions to address that range of options?
Yeah, we do. So if you start from the basis that you need physical and virtual, I think most customers that we talk to certainly accept that. In terms of the managing the physical and the virtual together, where you have the requirement for generic applications with many, maybe not significant numbers of servers, then we have a product called Extension. If an instance fails or a container fails or a physical server fails, it will automatically fail over onto a spare resource. So N+1 for physical and virtual. If the environment is slightly larger, and customers want the ability to maybe manage physical and virtual from a single pane of glass, so the next layer up the management tier, if you like, enable you to move virtual instances between virtual containers, as well as start and stop physical instances, deploy new virtual instances, deploy new physical instances. Then we have a product called Resource Coordinator, which is kind of the next step up the chain, but still focused on virtual and physical and kind of agnostic in terms of the applications and the operating systems. Where we've been since about 2003 is working on what we call application virtualization technologies, which is solutions specifically for SAP and Oracle that enable you to abstract the application away from a physical operating system and a physical piece of tin. These products have been on the market since about 2003, and we call them FlexFrame for Oracle and FlexFrame for SAP. They are designed where I have highly important services based around those applications, and enable me to do all the things that I've described for the virtual environment, but actually in a physical environment. So I can scale up, I can scale out, I can do automated failover, I can do also automated workload management. Products that are actually still unique on the market in the level of integration and automation they've got with the application stacks. But where FlexFrame is great, we're in an Oracle and an SAP environment. Where we have more generic applications, we have another product called Processing Area Network. That product is a radically different take on virtualization. I guess you could say it does for physical instances what virtual infrastructures do for virtual infrastructures. So it virtualizes both above the processing resource or the server and below it into the data center. So a level of I/O virtualization that's not really been seen in the industry before. And so wherever a customer is on that journey, if you like, or whether I'm just starting out on virtualization and I want to have a mix of physical and virtual, then Extension and RCV play absolutely into that space and help customers achieve that with the lowest cost model. As we start to move up into more enterprise class applications, ERP, etc., then that's where FlexFrame starts to deliver significant benefits. In fact, Bearing Point estimate the cost reduction is about 62%. And then where there's more generic applications of enterprise class, Processing Area Network is delivering significant capex reductions as well as significant opex reductions. So whilst you can't virtualize everything, actually we can, but we do it in a slightly different way.